Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. Before I get on out of here, I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly,
Stephen A. Smith recently dropped a bomb that is rocking the WNBA, so you might want to get ready for this one. Everything we believe to be true about women's basketball's future is completely upended by what he said. The league is rushing to determine what will happen next as a result. Everyone was aware of the rising tensions. The locker rooms were divided. The players were agitated. However, no one anticipated that the Players Association would act as though they had complete control and blow up their own deal this early. This is where things start to go crazy. The part that everyone has been discussing in whispers, but is afraid to voice out. Up until now, Stephen A. is criticizing the league for more than just its lack of timing or greed. He's essentially verifying that Caitlin Clark has already initiated contact. No lengthy social media post, no press conference, just silent action that makes a big impression. Clark has moved away from the mayhem. And for others who believe they could use her name and yet cash her checks, the fallout might ruin everything. This is how it began. 2 years ahead of schedule, the WNBA Players Association formally opted out of their collective bargaining agreement. To put it simply, they tore it up. They concluded it was time for a big payday after witnessing sold-out venues, chartered aircraft, and record-breaking TV ratings. They want a larger portion of the pie, and they want it right now. Given that the league is now flourishing, that seems reasonable on paper. However, according to Stephen A., there is a serious problem. They are demanding NBA-level funding from a company that has just begun to turn a profit, all the while alienating the individual who is responsible for that success. Regardless of how they handle the biggest star in the league, they are betting that fans will continue to watch. And it's a risky wager. Caitlin Clark performed a subtle power maneuver that was more impactful than anything the union could publish online while they yelled about justice. Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier's new, ostentatious 3-on-3 league, unrivaled, was rejected by her. These are the same veterans who have frequently appeared to shut her down this season. For just a few weeks of performance, they allegedly offered her more than $1 million in addition to shares and star treatment. Given that many players must play abroad in order to make ends meet, most players would have jumped at the chance, but Clark declined. It's what Stephen A. refers to as her soft resignation. She left their ecosystem, their money, and their league behind. Rather, she opted for relaxation, golf, and quiet, demonstrating to everyone that although she doesn't require them, they undoubtedly do. At that point, Stephen A. exploded in the most explosive manner imaginable. It was the ultimate fumbling of the bag, according to him. In theory, the veterans in union want revenue sharing, which makes sense, but you can't demand Caitlin Clark's worth while allowing players to mistreat her on the court and reject her in interviews. Everybody has seen it. The icy shoulders, the severe fouls, and the Olympic nevertheless, the dubious remarks throughout the entire season. According to Stephen A., their judgment is being clouded by jealousy. They're attempting to take advantage of Clark's success while simultaneously destroying her. He expressed it flawlessly. While attempting to cook the goose for dinner, they are squeezing the golden goose for eggs. It is not possible to have both. The players are banking that, despite treating Clark like an outsider, she will simply continue to show up, take hits, and increase their checks by abandoning the CBA early. What a mess. The numbers never lie, so let's analyze them. In actuality, the majority of WNBA players require this new deal in order to live well without having to travel abroad to endure harsh offs. However, Caitlin Clark is acting in a whole different game. Her WNBA salary seems insignificant in comparison to her reported $30 million Nike contract and massive endorsements from Gatorade, State Farm, Wilson, and other companies. Less than 1% of her annual salary, in fact. Clark is the only athlete who could leave today and be wealthy forever, according to Stephen A. Smith, who didn't hold back. The players' union is acting as like they are in charge and are seeking more money. In actuality, though, the youngster they've been scrutinizing all year is the only one with true power. Everyone's paycheck stops in the event of a lockout, with the exception of Clark, who will continue to cash Nike checks while honing her golf swing. Furthermore, Stephen A. came for more than simply the players. He also targeted the league bosses. He called the WNBA leadership some of the worst in the world for allowing things to become so poisonous. Any astute company would safeguard its top earner, wouldn't it? You keep someone satisfied and supported if they earn 80% of your profits. Instead, the league allowed petty drama and envy to get out of hand as its brightest star was shut down both on and off the court. The WNBA is now facing a labor battle. The unions are becoming antagonistic. Additionally, Clark is removing herself from the mess. The executives will have to explain to the NBA's board how they lost $1 billion opportunity if this results in a strike or lockout because they were too scared to urge the veterans to relax. How disastrous. The last warning from Stephen A. was terrifying. The league's quiet, he suggested, might soon become Clark's formal farewell. She won't be pleading for a deal if the players strike and the games end. She has choices. Either creating her business on her own or broadcasting showcase games for millions of people abroad. Her silent departure from the WNBA might become permanent if the negative emotions continue. By opting out, the players believe they are playing hardball, but they overlooked a crucial detail. The entire machine is being driven by Clark. Saying no to Unrivaled could have been her finger hovering over the eject button. You must go back in time to see how we arrived. Tape. It took time for this disdain to begin. Before Clark played a single professional minute, it started. Do you recall the warnings from legends like Diana Taurasi and Cheryl Swoops that Clark wouldn't rule and that reality was approaching? The fuse was lighted by that. All of the veterans felt suddenly entitled to humiliate her. Hard fouls, full court presses, and constant shade. Nevertheless, she shattered the rookie assist record, broke the rookie scoring record, and propelled a lottery club into the postseason. Rather of rejoicing, the veterans intensified their "we all built this" line stance, refusing to acknowledge that Clark was the one who ultimately brought attention to himself. It was called by Stephen A. "Denial is what it is." The union is attempting to profit on the attention she brought about while denying any involvement. It's amazing to observe. Don't forget that new league was designed by Nafi Sakir and Brianna Stewart to be a game changer that would allow participants to make real money at home. However, it now appears to be merely another front in the conflict dividing the women's basketball community as a whole. The key to that new TV deal was acquiring Caitlin Clark. Without a doubt. Rumor had it that before securing a huge broadcast package, big networks were waiting to see if she would sign. Thus, when Clark stated no, she didn't just avoid the trouble. She probably cost her competitors millions of dollars. It was a subtle but brutal move that struck them in the wallet, right where it hurts. Music. This was not a coincidence, Stephen A. Smith claimed. Music by Clark Sharp. She is aware of her worth. She is demonstrating the weight of her name by taking a step back. If Unrivaled finds it difficult to draw viewers without her, that only serves to support Stephen A.'s argument. Not just for women's basketball in general, but also for Caitlin, fans are turning out. What is the reason behind the players' union's recent collapse? Why break the agreement 2 years ahead of schedule? They say the goal is to create a new model that keeps up with the league's expansion. Better perks, more money, and more seamless travel. Additionally, although the timing screams panic, the intentions seem reasonable, as if they are aware that their leverage may never be this great again. The irony was noted by Stephen A. They are jeopardizing the very enthusiasm they are attempting to capitalize on by inciting mayhem and threatening a lockout. Let's face it, folks who recently tuned in because to Clark aren't yet devoted followers. Those casual viewers will immediately return to the NBA or NFL if the 2026 season slows due to financial concerns, and they may never return. Inside a paper house, the union is playing with fire, and everything could quickly catch fire. Additionally, Stephen A. didn't avoid the uncomfortable aspect. He emphasized the role that race and the media play in the narrative. He acknowledged that athletes like A'ja Wilson's music doesn't receive the same attention, but he reminded everyone that business is business. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were heavily marketed in the NBA in an attempt to salvage the league. It was about survival, not justice. The WNBA is in its magic and bird period, according to Stephen A., but too many players act as though everyone should be treated equally, regardless of who occupies the seats. What's dividing the league is that participation trophy mentality. He is supported by the numbers. All around the country, Clark's games sold out arenas. Her Indiana Fever drew larger audiences than the Las Vegas Aces, the reigning champs. That's not hype either. That is a fact. However, when the union disregards that fact, the very investors backing those raises are being scared off by their demands for equal exposure and compensation. The psychological aspect follows, and it is devastating. Clark appeared exhausted toward the end of the season. Weary, not simply exhausted. It was a never-ending cacophony of headlines, body language arguments, lip reading, and controversies. Stephen A. claims that her decision to back off was motivated by self-preservation rather than conceit. She is discreetly leaving the blast zone after witnessing the crash before it occurs. She's back in Iowa, playing golf, hanging out with her family and partner, and simply breathing. However, this poses a risk to the league. What if she finds that the WNBA drama makes her happier? What if she determines that she doesn't really need the league? At that point, the threat materializes. We've already witnessed it. Legends like Andrew Luck, Calvin Johnson, and Barry Sanders all left early when the hard work was no longer worthwhile. Even the highest salaries won't be enough to keep a celebrity around if the atmosphere becomes too toxic. Not to mention that Clark has already secured her suitcase. Stephen A.'s golden goose simile is a perfect fit. For those golden eggs, the WNBA is behaving like a farmer who is squeezing the goose more and harder without considering the possibility that the goose may fly away permanently if they push too hard. They have a goose that produces golden eggs. Clark, Caitlin. However, rather than providing the geese with food, a secure nest, and a home, they are busily pecking at it, providing it with a secure nest and ensuring its happiness so the gold continues to flow. They are threatening to blow up the entire coop because they are upset that the goose receives more attention than the hens. The CBA will insist that everyone else get a better bargain. This is economic suicide, declares Stephen A. Smith. The gold goes with the goose if it takes flight. ESPN, ABC, IWN, and those huge TV deals all relied on Clark's ascent. These networks may withdraw, leaving the league bankrupt overnight if she leaves or if the league locks out. The players are always demanding income sharing, but Stephen A. is the most persuasive. 50% of zero cannot be divided. There is an additional layer behind the scenes. The union leadership and agents. There are rumors that some agents are even irritated. They are aware that everyone was enhanced by Clark's presence. She assisted in securing charter planes for players, something they had been battling for many years. Sponsors began writing checks for others after observing her influence. She accomplished what the union had been after for 25 years in just one rookie season. However, the sentiment has been it's about time and we deserve more, rather than thanks. Without holding back, Stephen A. stated bluntly, "Gratitude is in short supply these days." The veterinarians feel that they bled so that Clark might shine, and they are angry because she didn't face the same difficulties. However, that's how progress is made. In order for the following generation to flourish, the pioneers endure. The issue is that a 22-year-old Iowa phenomenon is the target of the veterans' resentment of history. What comes next, then? The billion-dollar question is that every game in the upcoming season will be tense due to the impending CBA deadline. The imminent danger of a strike. According to Stephen A., the public won't support the union if games are canceled. It's obvious that the supporters support Clark. The ratings attest to this. The sales of jerseys attest to this. There won't be any compassion if the Players Association tries to play the victim while requesting millions, particularly if it appears that they push the league's greatest star in the world. She may have used Clark's unparalleled denial as a covert checkmate. She has demonstrated that she can continue to be profitable and important even if she doesn't play basketball for months. Can the others say the same thing? Do State Farm commercials run during the Super Bowl? No, not at all. The court is necessary for them. Clark, however, is the court. This is the point at which things could truly blow out. The world market. There are already rumors that clubs in Europe and Asia are planning enormous offers for Clark that far exceed any WNBA contract. Consider a picture of Caitlin Clark's international tour. Shanghai, Tokyo, Paris, and London all had sold-out arenas. She may earn more money abroad in a single month than the WNBA as a whole. Total payroll. Stephen A. cautioned that the union is unaware of Clark's actual level of power. She can simply grab her passport, board a plane, and continue expanding her enterprise globally if the WNBA becomes a hassle. The league is not necessary for her. So far, it's just the simplest choice. And that brings us full circle to her denial of unparalleled. Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, the company's founders, attempted to pretend that it didn't matter by stating, "We've got plenty of stars." In actuality, though, they have stars, just not the